I awoke this morning with all last night I couldn't sleep, with the word marquee. Now, the word marquee is an interesting word for me in particular, because now, is that the one, my love, where you're somebody uber important in like Don Smith Mirror, where the lights dance and humans are in splendor and awe going, wow, I wonder how that happens. And we're like, yeah, we can't tell you, but we know things. Right, okay, so now in that light of the Aurora Borealis, I don't know, one of those things, and whatever, that goes back to the paper files in, National Guard, because they're like sending National Enquirers, I believe, which I don't even know what that is. I think the last one that made herself like known to me, I had when Alexander was in the Noah's Ark, the NOAHARK, go figure. When Eric, the millionaire hottie from the Three Pillar Foundation, was in the gym, right, I went and there was a woman, and she was very abrasive. I did not know why on earth she would be so mean. And then she said something, I think, about Hitler, and I go, now, why would you, just, she's like, you're not upset I called you, like, Hitler. And I'm like, is that, like, a bad thing? Like, he has a family, doesn't he? Like, is that, it's a curse now? I don't know, Americans, I guess, are just very confusing. And she's like, oh, well, don't you think you're an American? I'm like, yeah, I don't really know, because it gets confusing. So now it's like, she's like, but I thought you don't like national inquiries. And I'm like, I don't know what it is. What is it? And she's like, right, well, and she's like, well, I could see that the baby really loves you. And I'm like, he does. I was like, we have a very strong bond. And so she was like, no, I can see the way you interact with him. She's like, it just seems so natural. And I'm like, but is there any other way? And she's like, you said natural. What other relationship is there? And so it is like and then I said, well, if thanks for, I guess, checking in on me. Then if somebody's worried about me, I said, I don't know who, but thank you. And she said, that is just so bizarre, because normally your kind is like really mad if they find out that we did one of these. And I'm like, Mike, I was like, I'm an only child, right? There's only one of me. I don't have any, I don't know who else, I don't know, I can't, I don't know how everybody else acts. I can't stand for that. I'm just me, all alone in whatever this is. So that was at Noah's Ark with Alexander. Right around the time of the car accident with some crazy dopey young thing that went like across all these lanes of traffic as I was going straight, and then hit into the minivan where I had Alex in the baby seat with me, and the smoke from the airbag went off. It really scared the hell out of me. I thought that the car was on fire. All right, now, let me think about this. Okay, so the marquee, right? So what happens if some, like, gung-ho superstar competitor of I don't know what, when there's only one of something, why you would want to compete, but whatever. So now, why would that one thing take a, like, key, like this one, and then stick it in someone else's paint and then score the entire length of the car in the paint job, say a black paint job, so that it's really obvious the crater and like abyss that you left in your wake? Right. So now that happened from, I think, an alternate league, no less, on some false charge of whatever. I'm one cunt. There's one, oh, look at that, it is taller, cock that I come for. We are salt of the earth. And I just want him and I to go hide wherever we are. We're just two of one kind. Go so they don't have to transplant faces with one another. Right, there's some kind of face exchange going on. Mine changes very. Some days I look like this. I mean, this is more his look. This is not what I normally wear in a genetic bipedal. I have a true blue who has a blueprint looking at the. I mean, they have a copy of us like in a encapsulate is what we call it, with the true genetic visage of what we should be wearing to verify for the all areas dumb fucking and useless humans that this is, I mean, I'm wearing it now, but this is his face because of one of the torsion effects that you got from somebody keying somebody else's car in some competition with. It's his cunt. What are you competing for, stupid? She doesn't want you, and he wants her, and he's more important, as is she, and there's no competing. Now she's wearing his face, just to be sure, and I don't know whose face he's wearing. Is it Alexander's or is it his? I don't know. But now she'd like her face back, although she doesn't mind looking at this one, because it reminds her of him, although she likes it better on him, because now it's a little weird that she knows things. So now that happened in Marquis Importante file of, who are all these things that are in my special sauce, whatever? And why? Like, why? I mean, I get that somewhere in the world there's some idiot who wants to compete with another idiot in some fraternal haze, Haze. Like, what the? It's a woman. It's the mother of his children, you fucking idiots. Why would you compromise their entire life for your level of stupid? That's like death on massive scale, and nobody's gonna care. So now that happened. Now how do I beat these charges of humans now charging me in After Effects, Shock, and Wake for their stupid inquiries into a system that is not built for them or to give them knowledge of things? And the race, before I was born, they found everything out in who keyed the kid's car. I don't know. Why don't you go look at the white cunt sitting on someone else's stone of destiny? I mean, we give you these things because Anna's revenge is going to be like, oh, Hitler and Anna, oh my God, they're like two besties. It's going to be the best of everything them and nothing like you. Right, so now who knew that, like, the Dell computer was a color? Right, yeah, the kids that researched it before we were born did. Why did the actual purpose for me being here without the facial exchange, why did that not happen? Right, Donna Bin, when she came, she mentioned something, she's like playing, I was like, all right, now Donna, you're gonna have to walk me through this. It was a lengthy conversation. I'm like, okay, so I was out on an appointment. I just got home. Nanny, who's from Brazil, but lives with me. A good girl from a doctor's family in Brazil, no less. Doesn't know a stitch of English. Came from Chicago before because they didn't like her. And, but she knows Portuguese and she really loves Alexander. Great. So now, not the most attractive woman. I'm sorry, Diana, but we have to update my files accurately for everyone. So now, Donna Bin, BIHN, Just curious, right? So now you say I'm out, and somebody came over and gave you this piece of chalk? She's like, I didn't say it was chalk. I'm like, no, I know, but you have it in your hand. It looks like chalk. Is it one of the children's chalks from the toy bin? I mean, there was a toy bin in the office that I was doing in my house. And she's like, that's funny. If I saw it, and now that you mention that, I might think it was chalk. And I'm like, right. I was like, well, what do you call it? And she's like, well, I don't. And I was like, all right, Donna. I was like, you're gonna have to help me here, hon, because like I don't. You're asking me if I know what this is. I'm thinking it's chalk. You're asking me about my nanny from Brazil, who's international, who lives with me, and just me and the kids. And now I'm confused as to where the chalk comes into that line of questioning. And she's like, now that's interesting. Line of questioning, Nicole. Now I wouldn't have thought you like a sheriff. And I'm like, now, why, Donna, why would that make, right, and that was really, I was throwing, and then it was like fishing and casting a line. I'm like, now why does that make me a sheriff? Are you like, in this situation, are you the criminal? I mean, you're the one who opened a line of communication with me. You work for me as my assistant. I leave you in my house. I thought you were trustworthy. I did not do a background check on you. I would have no idea how any of that works. Right. Is there a problem, Donna? Like, should I know something? Because you seem like a good person and a reliable, trustworthy person to be in my house alone while I'm out on appointment. You seem to accomplish a lot in the tasks on the computer that I need. And she's like, right, getting back to the chalk. And I'm like, right. And she's like, really, it's that easy to change the subject? I'm like, we're not changing the subject. The subject was always the chalk. I went around the chalk subject onto Diana, who watches the children, and you called me a sheriff. I am not. And then we are back to the chalk. So now, what are we doing, Donna? And she's just like, what if I told you that my husband called me and told me that this was drugs? And I'm like, well, is it? Is it chalk or drugs, Donna? Because I can't tell. And it's yours in your hand. And she's like, right, now, would you call the cops on me because I brought drugs into your house? And, well, is it drugs, Donna? And why would you bring drugs into my house if you're just coming for work for the day? I don't get, you don't seem like you're on drugs. Not that I would really know, but they say there's a characteristic. I mean, you're pretty calm most of the time, Donna. I don't really see too much of the fluctuation, and I would be curious about more than just, can you get some computer work done? I'll pay you at the end of the week. She's like, right. And she's like, yeah, he said it described this to him over the phone. She's like, so I did. And then he said, it sounds like it might be something called smack. I'm like, that's a thing? Smack? And she's like, yeah, funny. I had never heard a reference to that drug either. I was like, is this a new thing? I was like, again, I don't know if you have friends, but I don't really, these are not things that I hear often, and I don't want to come off dumb, but it's just you and I here, so I was like, right, no, I have not heard. She's like, let's look it up on the computer together, and we'll learn together. I was like, you really think this is going to be, does your husband really need, like, more answers than this? What does he do for a living? And she's like, right, well, we just came up here from North Carolina, remember? Like, the employment down there was really bad. I'm like, right? And so she's like, so we looked up the computer, and then it turns out it was crack. I was like, well, now, what are the side effects of that? I heard in the 80s it was bad in the city with black people, but I don't really know. And she's like, right, yeah, me neither. I was like, okay, so now what do you do with it? I was like, do you throw it out? She's like, maybe flush it. I'm like, she said, that's your husband's call. I have no idea. Not mine.